Hello, hello
Hello.
everyone.
Hello.
Hi, I see more people are joining. I will give like 30 seconds more before kick off the session so more people can join us. Okay, so I think we can start this webinar. So again, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anna, and I'm a digital educator at All Digital. It's a pleasure to be your host for this session today, and this session is part of the ongoing All Digital Weeks 2025, which is a campaign dedicated to enhancing digital skills across Europe. Before we start, I'd like to share with you few quick housekeeping notes. So this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available afterwards. If you prefer not to be seen or heard, please feel free to keep your camera off and the microphone muted. The session will last approximately 45 minutes. And of course, we encourage you to participate. You can share your thoughts in the chat. And also at the end, we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask your question as well. As I already mentioned, this webinar is part of the All Digital Weeks 2025, which is this European-wide campaign dedicated to enhancing digital skills and ensuring that all the citizens, no matter their background or location, can actively participate in the digital transformation. With the 90% of jobs nowadays requiring digital skills, initiative like the All Digital Weeks are more important than ever. So today's session is organized in a synergy with our Digital Village project, which focus on co-design digital education in rural areas. To give a broad context of this project, I can refer to the rapid digital transformation of the recent years, which has highlighted the digital divide between the urban and the rural areas, especially post-pandemic. So across Europe, rural communities face unique challenges in assessing digital education and resources. And this project, our Digital Village project, seeks to bridge this gap through a participatory approach. In fact, one of the most innovative aspects of this project is the use of the Reciprocal Maietic approach, which is a methodology rooted in the work of the Centro per lo Sviluppo Creativo Danilo Dolci in Palermo. But to explore this topic further, we are joined today by two incredible speakers. So here we are, Giulia Danibale and Alberto Biondo. Giulia is the project manager of our digital village at Centro per lo Sviluppo Creativo Danilo Dolci, and she is specialized in education and human rights. Alberto, he is the coordinator of the European Cooperation Department at Centro per lo Sviluppo Creativo Danilo Dolci, with an extensive experience in international relation and impact management. So I think I already talked a lot, and let's dive in the session. So Giulia and Alberto, at this point, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. So thanks a lot, Anna, for introducing us and for giving us the space and the floor to introduce our practice. First of all, and also thanks to All Digital for this chance. Before starting and go, deep on the topic and leave the floor to Giulia, I would like to introduce at least our organization. So just let me share the presentation a little bit. So can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So some words regarding the Center for Creative Development Danilo Dolci. As you rightly say, I mean, we are an Italian organization, a non-profit organization, and we have inherited, let's say, the work on the social and educational field of Danilo Dolci. I will talk a little bit about Danilo Dolci later when we introduce the methodological framework we use in the project. So for now, I will talk just about how we work and what are our objectives as organization. As I said, we work mainly on the field of social and educational work, and our objective is to promote the creative and nonviolent development of communities by using participation and education. Actually, we really believe that we can really make a change in the community by involving all the people we work with, by make them aware of their potentialities, but also to co-design together the intervention and also all the work we would like to do on the community in order to reach a major change. Actually, our goals are, I mean, they encompass somehow all the fields where we work with, because we want to test and promote the innovative and participative educational approaches in non-formal and non-formal settings. We enhance active citizenship, democratic participation, and social dialogue using research action processes addressed to social change. And then we promote nonviolent development, critical thinking, and reciprocal communication. And last but not least, we contribute to social justice because we want to foster also harmonic growth, the promotion of social inclusion, and of course, supporting human rights. Actually, our work is divided in three areas. The first one is about, of course, Danilo Dolci. We work in order to preserve and project in the future the legacy of Danilo Dolci. And of course, the other two areas are participation and education. Participation, this area, let's say, that includes all the interventions that are related to all the activities aimed at reaching a systemic impact at community level, whilst education is an area which is more dedicated to co-design with the target specific learning paths in order to increase their potential and contribution to the community. Our numbers are the ones that I'm sharing with you. Actually, we have between the 20 and 25 interventions and projects. Right now, we have a wide networks of 100 international partners, more than 400 European partners, and we have also a major network made of schools, around 25, and more than 50 stakeholders. I think that I have introduced enough information regarding our organization, so I will leave the floor to Giulia in order to talk about our initiative.
Okay, Alberto, thank you so much. As Anna said before, I'm Giulia and I am the project manager of the Our Digital Village project. So the Our Digital Village project is a European initiative, is an Erasmus Plus program and a forward-looking project. The aim of this TIMOS project is to identify, develop and test innovative approaches in order to scale them up and replicate them. And the ultimate goal actually is to enhance the educational system. Our Digital Village project is part of the Lot 1, so the digital education cross-sector, and our priority is the priority number 1. So we aim to support inclusive and high quality digital education in line with the Digital Education Action Plan. The project started in January 2023 and it's going to finish the 31st of December 2025. So it's a 3 years project and we are in the last part of our project. We are in the last months and we are implementing our last activities. Okay.
Just a moment.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yes, I think so. So,
Oh, sorry. Okay.
okay. So, our project is made up of a European consortium. So we are different European partners and organizations working in the project. So, Centro per lo Sviluppo Creativo Danilo Dolci, which Alberto said is an organization based in Palermo, is the coordinator of the project and is based in Italy. And then we are collaborating for the implementation of the digital activities also with Fab Lab, which is another organization based in Palermo. We are also implementing our initiatives in other countries. In Austria, the Berater is doing so for our Digital Village partnership. Then in Greece, we have MOP working with us. In Poland, Danman Computers. In Cyprus, CSI. In Romania, ACDC. In Portugal, Innova Plus. And then we have 3 other partners which are collaborating with us, but they are not implementing partners because we are Spain, which is in charge of the evaluation of the project. And we have the University of Alicante working for us in the project as the evaluation manager. And then in France, we have ALDA, which is in charge of the sustainability of the project. And in Belgium, we have our host, All Digital, which is in charge of the dissemination part. Okay, why did we decide to start this project? Why did we think that it was important to enhance the digital competencies of people living in rural areas? Because European Union is made up of 80% of rural areas and we have 30% of the population living in these areas. But in these areas, the level of digital skills is very low compared to the level of urban areas. And this is because there is, of course, a lack of digital competencies due to the absence of adequate digital infrastructure. And also for these reasons, we have low levels of motivation and the awareness on the topic, it's also quite low among the people living in these areas. For this reason, we thought it was important to take an action there and try to enhance the competencies of the people living in those zones. In fact, after the COVID-19, we had a very an acceleration of the process of digital transformation, and the digital gap between urban and rural areas started to grow very fast. According to the Digital Economy and Society Index 2021, only 48% of people living in these areas have at least basic digital skills. And in urban areas, the level is higher because 62% of the population has this basic level. So our objective is to bridge this gap between urban and rural areas through our initiatives. Okay, so our countries, all the countries involved in this project, except for Austria, are ranked at the lower end of the DESI index. So most of them have really strong issues regarding the acquirement of basic digital skills. That's why we decided to activate this process in these specific countries. Italy, for example, ranks 25th out of 27 European countries in terms of digital readiness among its population. So it's in a very low level of the scale. In its long-term vision for the European Union's rural areas, the European Commission emphasized the importance of strengthening these skills in these countries and in these regions through targeted policies and educational approaches that could develop the digital and transversal skills of the population, equipping them with the tools to face the future challenges of this digital world in some way. So how are we thinking of helping, how are we imagining, and how are we actually doing the enhancement of digital competencies among the populations and the communities of reference we are working with? Because all the countries participating in this project had identified a community of reference, and in this community of reference we are trying to carry out different actions. So we are trying to engage the people from rural communities through bottom-up approaches in order to generate an impact in them. We are co-creating with them educational materials tailored to their local needs, also through the self-analysis workshops or Reciprocal Maieutic Approach, which will be later explained by Alberto. We are ensuring long-term digital transformation through awareness-raising initiatives, for example, organizing info sessions for all the population of these communities. We are training teachers and also trainers and educators who actively work with students, and we are enhancing also the competencies of young learners and adult learners through different courses and promoting the project's impact and outcomes at both local and international levels through actions like, for example, this one. Okay, so the project beneficiaries of our initiative are educational institutions, because as I was saying before, we have created some communities, and in each of our communities, we have different members, and these members are organizations of the territory, but also schools and municipalities. So from the schools, of course, we are also working with teachers and trainers and with the school students. And while we are also engaging the adult learners through active actions and specific actions, like, for example, courses and info sessions, as I said before. And of course, we also work with policymakers and relevant stakeholders in order to make a real impact in these communities. Okay, so which are all the activities that we are actually carrying out in this initiative? We have started with Maieutic workshops. These workshops were implemented in order to understand the needs of the populations related to ICT challenges and technological issues. So we started to do some meetings with them in order to understand what we could improve, which type of actions we could implement and carry out. After it, we started a collaborative creation and cooperation with the population, because we started to co-create with them some tools and activities, consisting in the end in an activity kit composed of 50 activities regarding different ICT challenges, like, for example, robotics, coding, microcontrollers, 3D printing, and web development. And we are also implementing ICT courses right now in all the countries of the partnership. We had our first phase of courses with teachers and educators, and now we are actually implementing courses with students at school and also with adult learners in local centers. Then we have other initiatives, like, for example, like the community info desk, which are desks open to all the population who, for example, wants to ask some questions related to technological issues. This question can be answered through our info desk that are both online and offline. And also we are starting to implement 5 sustainability workshops, which will be a way to equip the participants with knowledge and tools in order to access to funding and resources that can be used to replicate actions and initiatives like this one, in order to enhance the digital competencies of people living in rural areas, for example. And finally, we are going to organize 2 different community events for the population of the local areas to showcase all the projects developed during the ICT courses that we have implemented in the communities. Okay, now I'll give you back the floor, Alberto, so you can explain what do we mean by Reciprocal Maieutic Approach, and how do we work with this approach in our organization. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Just a moment, I had okay. So, of course, this part is meant to introduce somehow where our methodological approach came from, because, of course, we, for this kind of project, we were looking for an approach that could somehow enhance the importance of community. So this part of this session will explain somehow our framework, where it comes from, and what were the results that we have reached. Actually, the Reciprocal Maieutic Approach come from the work of Danilo Dolci, that started to work in the 50s and 60s in a context which was the one of the Western CCD, that after the Second World War, of course, was a context where the basic needs and necessities were not guaranteed for, political mismanagement, the alliance between local politicians and mafia and so on, where the development of the communities were stopped or was locked. So the Dolci started to do some really simple action, let's say. So he managed to make people gather together, make questions, and identify in this way the needs, desires, and dreams of the community in order to plan a shared change. Sorry, yes. Of course, these were what were the consequences of these actions? Actually, these kicked off economical and cultural development of the community, because it started to allow some initiatives that make people aware of their rights, of their needs, of their desires, and to organize together the changes needed in the community. I won't go too much in details because we could spend hours talking about this story, but I think it's important to say that this kind of work of community was really important at national level in Italy, but it was also an inspirational example for other communities all around the world that made Dolci really famous, not only for its approach, but also for the nonviolent approach to the change that could happen in the community. So Danilo Dolci, let's say that observed the evolution of this process of collection of and analysis of needs and desires. So we can say that from the so-called popular self-analysis, the approach evolved in the so-called reciprocal Maieutic approach. But what is this reciprocal Maieutic approach? Actually, according to Dolci, is a process of collective exploration that takes as a departure point the experience and the intuition of individuals. If we start from and see, for example, the name of the method actually came from Maieutics, so Maietikos from the Greek, which means midwife, because when in the reciprocal Maieutic approach, we help each other to give birth to the learner's full potential, and this act is reciprocal because it's meant to be done in a group, in a community. So it is about participation. It's foreseen always the participation of everybody in the process, where everybody share and understand the real needs and the responsibilities in order to reach a change. There is a connection with the reality, but also a way to identify the concrete problems, how to develop a reciprocal awareness and to find solutions for the community. And also the fact that it's a group approach allows to build a complex image of the reality, and this allows to collect the plurality of points and also perspective on how to solve an issue, a problem. So why we use it for the project? Because it is a dialectic method of inquiry that helps us to examine the people needs and desires through this participatory process, where all the knowledge that we are going to collect is built together. So it's a self-analysis at group level, where everybody become aware of the problems. Everybody helps to identify the objective and contribute to create a solution for a change. And of course, this kicks off a process where from awareness we reach knowledge of what are our needs and desires. Then from there we start to plan, and from them we start to identify all the strategies. And in the case of our project, it was really important because these allow us to identify the digital gaps that already Julia has explained were identified, okay, in the European context, but we needed to understand the needs of the rural communities we wanted to work with. And these not only help us to identify the needs, but also to create a strong network at local level where we could really develop together the synergies, the alliance, where we would have worked then later in the project. So this is really important for us because, of course, as Centro Danilo Dolci, we always try to use the reciprocal Maieutic approach in all our projects, but especially in this one, even if it seems maybe a bit distant from what was the actual participation with the reciprocal Maieutic approach, actually we think it's really contemporary, let's say, because actually today, if you want to really participate in a community, you not only need, of course, the transversal competences, but also you need the digital competences, because otherwise you are somehow cut out of the community. So to use this approach, which is participatory and which is based on the needs of the community, really is a way anyway to create awareness on the importance of community and participation also in the digital world. So this is really a continuation of what the RMA has created in the past and today. So what did we do with the project? As already has said Giulia, so we have this part of analysis of needs. So we implemented in each country at least 9 Maieutic workshops, and we involved more than 277 people in all the partner countries in total. All these workshops were addressed to students, educational staff, and adult learners, together with policymakers. For each target group, we organize the specific Maieutic workshop, analyzing all their desires and needs, not only about the rural communities, but also about the digital technologies at the center, at the core of this project. These allow us to enhance the awareness, the understanding, and the community, the sense of community among the groups we have involved. Which were the results? So all the partners worked at national level, and the University of Alicante then analyzed all the results that we had collected. Actually, of course, the results were important because they highlighted both the advantages and challenges faced by the rural communities. Of course, all this work revealed the proactive approach to self-improvement of these communities, but also allowed us to identify the urgency of addressing infrastructure gaps, improving the teacher training, promoting the personalized learning that people wanted. So the results were really rich and useful for us for the next steps of the project. If we want to go in details, let's say that the main highlights were regarding the different aspects of the digital competences, because we asked to ask which kind of aspects were really important for the people involved. So the social, technical, security, and organizational sides were the ones that they really wanted for in their lives. Of course, we somehow confirmed the low level of skills regarding the technologies which are the core of the project, which were the 3D printing and, of course, coding and microcontrollers, because, of course, we know that they are not so mainstream technologies, but actually they are in the future of our lives. And also the main needs that were they highlighted during these meetings were that, of course, they would like to have a better technological equipment, and then an improvement of the teacher training. As I said before, also personalized training sessions according to the levels and the needs of the people involved. The topic of online privacy and safety was one of the main ones, because, of course, phishing and other kind of digital crimes are pretty spread, and people are victims of these kind of crimes. Then, of course, between students, adult learners, the integration of digital skills into curriculums was really asked and requested, but also the fact that parents should be, provided with digital skills, because they don't understand. There is a big gap between the youth and their parents, and there is not communication. And then, of course, an improvement of the infrastructure, because rural communities needed a strengthening of the infrastructure that they have regarding technology. And then, last but not least, the upskilling on transversal digital competences, because, of course, it's true that we are discussing about specific technology, but the approach to digital competence need to have a transversal competence supports, which this type of project, let's say, promotes, because transversal competence and digital transversal competence goes together. So these were the main results. Julia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I will briefly talk about our actual phase of the project, because in this moment we are implementing the ICT courses in all the countries involved. We have already finished the first part of implementation of the courses, because we have started with the courses for educators and trainers, and with the teachers, educators, and trainers, as I was mentioning before, we started to test our digital village activity kit, which was built together with the people from the local communities we are working in, and so which is tailored to the specific local context. But in order to understand if this kit is actually useful for these communities, we have started to test it through a series of courses. And of course, we have addressed some specific ICT challenges in particular, which are, as I was saying before, coding, robotics, microcontrollers, 3D printing, and web development. And depending on the sessions and on the groups, so we decided to work mostly with one of these challenges or the other. And the teachers were very enthusiastic while working in this environment, also because they had the opportunity to gain some valuable insights into pedagogical approaches that can be used when teaching this type of technologies among learners. Okay, so as I was saying before, the project was and the courses were implemented in mostly all the countries of the partnership, and we involved more than 200 educators, teachers, and trainers who took part to our training program. And during this part of the project, we could face some challenges and obstacles, but also we had positive outcomes and successes. For example, some of the challenges that we encountered during the implementation of the courses was the initial skepticism of the participants. Most of the teachers and the trainers, they did know about these technologies, but they thought they were not so useful for their work because they were used to work in a very traditional way without using this type of technology. That's why at the initial moment, they were a bit stressed about it, and they were not confident about the use of these technologies. Also, the limited access to resources that we encountered in most of the schools we have worked in, it was a problem. And another problem was the fact that in some schools, they actually had these resources that could be used, but they didn't know how to use it. So they had the tools and the possibility to do so, but they didn't receive training for doing it. That's why our course was so important, because they started to understand how to use some tools and resources that the school has, but doesn't explain how to use. And of course, we encountered some difficulties in communicating with the school, some logistical issues, and the need for stronger institutional support, because this type of courses should be supported also by the institutions, because it's very important to make an impact and to try to bridge this gap that we were talking about before. Some of the successes that we have, that we could see during our implementation, of course, was the growing engagement and the interest among teachers, and the successful integration of some tools, because most of the teachers said that they are going to use these tools actually during their lessons at school. Like, for example, 3D printing and coding were the most successful ones. The recognition of the value of digital education and the positive impact on teaching practices and professional development, of course. Okay, these are some of the pictures that we took during our courses. So we have some pictures from all over the countries. So Poland, Cyprus, some pictures from our course in Italy, in Romania, and in Greece, just to show you a bit what happened during these courses. And now I would like to briefly talk about what is going on now in our local community, what's happening now, because we are working, as I was mentioning before, in the courses for students and adult learners. All the projects implementing partners are involved. We will carry out 4 courses in each country with 50 participants per course and 20 hours per course. And we will involve lower and upper secondary school students and the adults from local communities. And as far, I mean, for now, we have reached some outcomes, and we could actually see the strong engagement and participation from the students and the high levels of interest and motivation, also because they are using new technologies. They are not used to this type of technologies. This is something completely new to them because they are always used to stay in front of the telephone, but they actually do not know also the use of the computer because they are not using it at home. And so this is something actually very new for them, and they are very engaged in working with these new technologies. Okay, so for example, talking about Italy in particular, we have started our first course, but we actually completed 3 courses in Italy. The first course was in the small town of Sicily called Salemi, in a high school called Istituto Superiore d'Aguirre, and the second and the third school were implemented at Gibellina, which is another small town very close to Salemi. We in each course we involved more than 15 students aged between 16 and 18 in high school and 12 and 13 for the middle school. And we used mostly the 3D printing because especially in the high school, the idea was to create through this technology campaign in order to promote the cultural heritage of the local area. So most of the students started to create small models through the 3D printing, small models of some important sculptures and monuments and important sites of the city, and envisioning a promotional campaign in order to attract new resources and residents to help repopulate the area. And all these materials and projects that have been developed will be showcased in a community event in order to raise the knowledge of and the awareness of the community about the potential of these digital tools and resources. Okay, these are some pictures of our courses in Italy. Here we have like the children working, and this is one of the most important monuments of the city of Gibellina they are trying to design. Okay, so here just like to close this session a bit, I have collected some of the sentences pronounced during our focus group of the evaluation with the teachers and students from the first course, which can like help us to understand how the process is going and how important it is to support people in improving and enhancing their digital skills within this context. For example, we have these students who said learning to use 3D printers gave us a practical way to support community initiatives like creating souvenirs or prototypes for small businesses. So they also think about the importance of by themselves through the use of these tools. Then we have this teacher who said the project introduced a way to integrate under reused technologies into meaningful community-focused applications, and so on. I wouldn't read them all. You can read them if you want. And I would like to thank you for being here and paying attention to our presentation. That's all from my side. I don't know if Alberto wants to add something. This is us, like all the consortium together in our last partner meeting in Porto. And it was a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you also, Anna, for hosting us in this webinar. And that's it. I don't know, there are some questions for us, or if you want to add something, Anna and Alberto.
I just want to add to what already, what Julia has already explained, that for us, this project was good opportunity to discover and understanding how the connections for this type of interventions are really, really important, because as Julia has rightly said, without the involvement of local institutions and also policymakers, all these impact could be impossible to achieve. And the project is meant to last at least 3 years, and which for us it seems a long time, but it's just the the right time to have an impact on the project, or of the project, and to leave something on the territories. And actually, it's as Julia said, there are a lot of activities and a lot of interventions that allows to go to touch different sides of the community. So we are really proud of the work done by all the partners, actually, because there are in multiple interventions at multiple levels at the same time. So it's huge.
So thank you, guys. Thank you, Giulia and Alberto, to share with us your experience and expertise with this project. And I also want to add that it's a great project going on because the topic is very important to bring digital education in rural areas. And as we are already shared, and actually Alberto and Giulia shared during the presentation, Europe is full of rural areas. So let's keep this in mind, and let's use this methodology more and more in our organization, in our community. So I think that now is the time to hear from the audience. We'll still have a few minutes. So if any of you wanted to share thoughts or maybe ask question, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask question directly to our speakers, or also the chat is available to be used for this purpose. So we would love to hear any of your maybe thoughts inspired by this this session that we just had with Giulia and Alberto. So maybe I will give you a few seconds, a few moments, a moment to collect your ideas. And in the meantime, maybe I can ask a question to our speakers. So maybe we can see this in more a practical way. So I would like to ask you, Giulia and Alberto, for the organization or for the educators that are looking to replicate the models that you share with us, what are the key steps to successfully co-design digital education with the local communities?
Okay, I can answer, and maybe Alberto, if you want, you can add something. As I was mentioning before, we are actually preparing an activity kit, which was prepared and co-designed with the population of the rural communities we are working in. And it's now being tested by the population and by the teachers and the students and the adult learners through the courses, but it will be available online on our website. So this can be a first step to start to replicate the activities of the ICT challenges we have proposed in this project, because it's full of different activities and initiatives in this activity kit. So I think it can be a good starting point. Then, as I also said, we are going to organize 5 workshops for long-term sustainability. And through this workshop, we will identify some potential funding opportunities and resources that could be used in the different countries we are working in order to replicate initiatives like this one that we have actually carried out in this in European context. And all the initiatives and the resources and the funding opportunities will be listed in our sustainability plan, which will be also available in our website. So this could be a good starting point from our resources in order to start working on this topic, I would say. I don't know if Alberto wants to add something regarding to this.
Yeah, let's say that, Julia, for example, what she said is, that, let's say the future with the rural communities, let's say that is also behind all the activities that we have introduced about our project, behind that there is a really important work of always sharing, always co-designing, always identifying, the key partner, the key policymakers at local level. Actually, the first part of the project, together to the local workshops, was meant to identify, at least two municipalities, two policymakers, and get involved them all the time. Behind these educational work and contents, there are lots of meetings and evaluations, and they continue to happen and to be organized. So this continuous work of sharing and co-designing with not only with the local the inhabitants of the rural areas, but also with the policymakers and the educational institutions will allow to, of course, have a fertile ground for the future of the projects and all the accessibility part. So I think an important step is these, engagements that, let's say, started with the project at the beginning and will continue afterwards.
Great. Thank you very much to share these tips with us. We talked about our Digital Village project website as the first step to take to be involved with this methodology. And so you can find the direct link in the chat. And also I want to invite you to stay connected and updated with this project through the LinkedIn page, and also in this case the direct link is in the chat. So I think that brings us to the very end of this today's session. I don't see any question asked in the chat, so I guess we can say thank you to Giulia and Alberto for sharing your insight, experience, and expertise. And of course, thank you to all of you for joining this session today. We hope that you find this conversation inspiring, but yes, I'm quite sure it was for everybody. So lastly, I just would like to give a quick reminder that the recording of this webinar will be available on All Digital YouTube official channel, and the link for the channel is also shared in the chat. So I think that's it. This is the very end. Once again, thank you all and see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.